Well, good morning, Lionhearts. How are you today? Hope you're having a great day. I woke up to about 1 billion comments on my new video, the Jane Mansfield death car, and tons of views, well, for me anyway. So it's nice that everybody's enjoying it. I haven't really had any complaints about it, which is always nice. But I wanted to do a tiny little segment for you tech nerds. Okay, so you guys know I got my new camera, and I've told you guys before, I am not good with technology or anything, so it's just taking me a little bit of time to get used to figuring out how everything works. Like, the first day, I was putting settings on it, and I was going, why does nothing look like it's changing? And I realized all the settings I was putting on were for photos and not for video, so that's how I am about learning stuff, so it will get better. Yesterday, if the audio sounded weird, I was just doing an experiment and I used their onboard microphone on the camera. If you were interested in this camera for yourself, like 2 people have asked me about it, I wanted to do that just so you could hear what the onboard microphone sounds like. It was alright, whatever. I'm not real happy with the microphone I have anyway, so last night I got a last minute gig for like 1 hour. They paid me in cash, and it was kind of in my neighborhood. So I ended up just taking that cash and I ordered this budget Rode microphone that I watched a bunch of reviews and checked out the audio online, and it sounds really good. So that should be here like before Friday, so I'll be switching over to that. And if the picture looked weird and kind of whitewashed, it's because I watched a YouTube where this guy taught you 2 default settings that he claimed were like, these are the settings you want to use. Trust me, these are the best settings. Yeah, I trusted him and I hated the settings. I think it looked like crap. So I'm going to go back to trying to figure it out on my own and go back to using the autofocus settings and their preferred settings, because as a vlogger, you just can't be switching back and forth every time you change lighting. And this guy's settings were they were too all over the map. So sorry about that. It'll get better. I'm excited anyway. This is going to be a great day. Breck's coming up because he wanted to go do a cemetery vlog, and I was like, sure, I haven't done a cemetery in a while, so we're going to go to Holy Cross, and we're going to see Bela Lugosi. Hopefully we're going to see John Candy. I know he's buried there, but he's in a mausoleum, so it just depends on what time we can get out there. The mausoleum closes earlier, so Daze with Jordan the Lion is going to be a celebrity death day. Thanks for coming to see me. Now let's go find John and go for a walk. Well, we're going to take him to the park first. And I have a ton of errands to do today, so you guys are going along with me. Superfan Craig Charlton ordered a copy of my CD and my record, so we have to go mail that out today. I want to go to Home Depot and get something to fix something on my sink. And then I need to go to the camera store and buy a lens hood for the lens that I have. And I'm also hoping, it looks like the new tripod I ordered is out for delivery, so hopefully that'll come. That'll be a great addition to steadying the camera a little bit. Oh, and it looks like I may have a pretty cool surprise vlog. Unless I get booked for a commercial or something, that I auditioned for one on, when was it, Friday? Unless I get that commercial, I agreed to work this thing at the Queen Mary in Long Beach, the ship. It's supposedly haunted, and I only did it so that I could film this stuff, and I'm actually going to get paid in cash at the end, but that might be in our future as a Queen Mary vlog. I think that's supposed to be on Wednesday. Well, we just got to the park, and I don't know what was going on out here, but I probably don't want to know either. Not too many people out here. It's like literally one dog and nobody else. Last man on earth right here, folks. You know, there's something cool that was at the museum yesterday, and I really wish I would have shown you guys. I actually, pretty cool, Leonard. And I wanted to say this earlier, and I just forgot yesterday, but I really wanted to thank Leonard and Jasmine for hitting me up and wanting to hang out again. They, interesting stories, like, he found my very first vlog, the very first day I posted it. I think I had like 23 people view it the first 24 hours, and he was one of them. He's been watching ever since, and they watch it as a family, and he wanted to meet up and go see some of the sites that I hadn't done yet. And we actually, when we were talking about having lunch together, he's like, hey, I want to take you out to lunch. I said, do you want me to recommend a place, or do you have an idea? And he said, well, we were thinking the Rainbow, but yeah, what's your recommendation? I said, It was the rainbow, because you know, the John Belushi thing and just the history and everything. But it was pretty cool that when we were at the museum yesterday, he paid for me to get in while I was over there talking to Scott Michaels, and he didn't have to, and that was really cool. But I always feel if I'm going to video somewhere or film anything somewhere that I have to patronize it. So I went ahead and they had these really cool souvenirs that you could buy. They were keychains, and they were hotel room keys from like various death locations, famous locations, movie, you know, maybe like a movie hotel or whatever. And I got my mom the Pink Palace, Jane Mansfield one, and on the back it says Dearly Departed and all that stuff. And pretty cool little like idea. I told him, I told the lady working there, I said, I really wish you had Joshua Tree Inn and Graham Parsons' room. I would buy that one. She's like, oh, good idea. But I wanted to tell you guys, do you remember a couple of days ago when I made a stop because I said there's a vlog that I want to do, and only one person had ever made a video of it, and he actually had to get permission from somebody to do, or well, he got permission from somebody to do it, and I was going to go out and talk to him and see if he would help me get in touch with that person. That was actually Scott Michaels. That's who I stopped to see that day, and I talked to him about it yesterday, and I was afraid of his response, and it was what I figured it would be. He said, oh man, I wish I could help you, but he said that was a once-in-a-lifetimer. He said, in fact, the guy let me onto his private property to do it, and I think he regrets ever doing that. So he goes, you can get back there, but you'll probably just have to do it on your own. So I'll probably still do it, but I just wanted to let you guys know that was the tie-in to that story that day. As soon as a few people got out here at the dog park, the guy who works the grounds out here who hates dogs, he does this a lot. He will turn on the sprinklers at like noon and water the grounds to get people to leave. So he just turned on the sprinklers now. Nice. Adam the Woo? I just realized how funny this must look every day when I'm out walking jaw and I wear a lot of black shirts with that Grateful Dead belt. And then you look at him, and he's always wearing a blue and red harness. We look like we're matching all the time. All right, time to do some post office. I recently heard a really great Jack Benny story, and the story was that when Jack Benny died, the very next day his widow received a red rose. And then the day after that, she received a red rose. Then the day after that, she received a red rose. And what she found out was that he had arranged, before he died, to have one red rose delivered to her every day after he died. And it happened for the rest of her life. They were married 50 years, so what a testament. We are here. And your music is on the way, Craig. All right, Craig, there you go, buddy. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I think today is Armenian Genocide Day, because I live in a neighborhood that is, I mean, we're talking within blocks of what's called Little Armenia, and I have a lot of Armenian people in my neighborhood, and today you see a lot of them driving around with their Armenian flags hanging out the window, and they usually have like a march at some point, so we might run into that a little bit today. Aw, dude. Aw, dude. Tie-dye shirt sale. I already have one. I like to make my own, but isn't that awesome that you can find a store out here that will actually sell them? They're usually cheap too, like less than $5. They literally took everything they could from this bike. Jeez, man. So I think I have my answer. 1915. Well guys, sorry to tease you, but I just found out I booked the other thing that I auditioned for Wednesday. So I'm going to be working in downtown LA, and I'm not going to be able to do the Queen Mary now unless something happens. But I'll do the Queen Mary at some point, I promise you. I've had a couple of people ask for it. That's right, folks. Breck and I decided it's a cemetery day. We're at Holy Cross Cemetery. Let's go see some dead celebrities. One thing I've told you guys about cemeteries that I love statues. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of them. I have a really interesting grotto here, and quite a few people are actually buried over here near this section. So I'm gonna walk us around the grotto, and then we're gonna visit some of the people that are buried here, unless I happen to see them as I'm passing by. Let's go on in. We actually got a pretty good laugh out of the security guard at this place because we stopped to get a map just for the layout of the grounds, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry guys, I just gave out my last map to the people that drove off a little bit ago." And I go, "Oh, no worries, man, we'll just go catch up to him and kick the hell out of him." And he starts laughing. I said, "No worry, man, I just wanted to get a laugh out of you." Well, here's the first grave that I stumbled upon. The lovely, lovely Rita Hayworth. Former wife to Orson Welles and Gilda. One of the most beautiful women in the world. Here's screen legend MacDonald Carey. Here's an old character actor I've seen in, I can't even begin to count how many movies, old Walter Brennan. Well, here's Jack Haley Jr., which means right next to him would be Jack Haley Sr. And you know who Jack Haley is because we just did that vlog where we went to the Mauritania that he had built. He was the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. And what's interesting is that also at this cemetery is another member of the Wizard of Oz, Ray Bolger, the man who was supposed to be the Tin Man and then ended up becoming the Scarecrow. And here's one of the main people we came to see, the great Dracula, the great Black Cat, White Zombie, the man himself, Bela Lugosi. Now, you might have heard the rumor, and the rumor was true. He wanted to be buried in his cape. So he did have 3 Dracula capes, and he was buried in one of them. Now, obviously, I am not going to be able to hit everybody, and every single time I come out to do a cemetery anywhere, the first thing that anybody says is, "Hey, you forgot, you forgot, you forgot." I know I'm gonna forget a lot of people. I'm hitting people as I see them. There's a handful of people that are on my list of people that I want to see. I will be back. This one couldn't be more sad. Sharon Tate Polanski, murdered in the Manson family murders. As well as unborn baby Richard. Pretty eerie. Couldn't even beg for her life. She knew it was pointless. Oh, one of the greatest actors of all time, the great Charles Boyer. Charles Boyer was famous for making the play Angel Street famous, to which would be brought to the screen, and it was called Gaslight. And here we have one half of Bob and Bing in all those hilarious road movies: Road to Rio, Road to Morocco, Road to Zanzibar, Road to Everywhere. Bing Crosby. And one of my favorite Christmas song singers. It's gonna be the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny F and K. And this one took us forever, but we found Jimmy Durante. Well, this one was no small feat, but we finally found Gladys Belzer and Loretta Young. And the story behind that, well, if you don't know who Loretta Young is, Loretta Young was one of the biggest movie stars of the 30s and 40s, and a lot of people now know her as a woman who had Clark Gable's love child. Basically what happened was they were making a movie together, and they were working close together in extremely cold climates, and they just, since the movie was having so many breaks because of the torrential weather and everything, they kept finding themselves in each other's cabins. Basically ended up, Loretta Young got pregnant and disappeared, and well, basically sold off a story that she adopted a daughter in her time away. But as the daughter would grow up, it was pretty obvious that it looked just like Clark Gable. And years and years later, when Loretta Young's daughter would grow up, she would come out and write a book about how she found out who her father was and how she had met him one time. He was at the house when she came home and everything. And actually, Loretta Young disowned her because of this. They ended up not speaking for a long time, and Loretta Young actually later on in life would claim that Clark Gable raped her. That she said as she got older and realized what rape was, that's what it was, but I don't know, it's always been a kind of a contested thing. But the reason she's buried here is because she had it stipulated in her will that when she died, she wanted her ashes buried with her mother. And this was her mother, Gladys Belzer. Well, and we found this one. This was one that we really wanted to see come in here too. Uncle Fester, he was also the kid from Charlie Chaplin's The Kid. John Leslie Coogan, son of famed director John Coogan, and he was also in that, like I told you guys before, that memorable Brady Bunch episode where he accused the Bradys of causing his neck injury in the car crash. Said that he had whiplash. Mike Brady comes up with that ingenious idea of throwing the briefcase on the ground and his head whips around, and that's the end of that. This one is one that a lot of people that are watching this right now have no idea. You've never heard of John Ball Beam. Darby Crash. Darby Crash was one of the founding fathers of the Germs, the punk band in Los Angeles, one of the very first punk bands and one of the biggest punk bands of the entire punk scene in Los Angeles. And the Germs actually had a member of Nirvana. Pat Smear was the guitar player of the Germs, and he would eventually be the last member added to Nirvana when they became a four-piece. Darby Crash had a real tumultuous life that would eventually end from a massive heroin overdose. And basically what happened was he had always been in his teen to early years, just a heroin addict. Never could get away from it, and even his brother, when he was a young boy, had died of a heroin overdose, and it was an intentional heroin overdose. What they said was that his drug dealer intentionally had given him a bad batch of heroin to kill him for some sort of grudge. And while Darby was like 13 or 14, he was having an argument with his sister, and his sister, in a fit of anger, told him that his father wasn't his real father. And so Darby just always kind of grew up with like this weird disdain and distrust for the world. And one of my very first jobs out here was for a record company, and eventually my boss, the guy who I would be an assistant to, was the man who signed and released all of the Germs singles and 7-inch records. And one of the things that he told me was, he said, Darby Crash is the only person that I believe in the world that deserved to commit suicide. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, sometimes you meet somebody in the world who's too smart for the world. They see too much of the world for the way it is, and they just would be happier not being here. And he said when you read his poetry, when you spent time with him, it was just completely evident that that's the way he was. And right at the height of when the Germs were really building up and getting successful, he just decided to take off and lived in England for like a year. And when he came back, he didn't even tell the members of the Germs. He came back, he started a solo band for a short time that didn't really work out, and then the Germs eventually got back together, did a show together at the Starwood, and 4 days later Darby Crash killed himself with a heroin overdose. And one of the folklores is that as he lay dying, knowing he was going to die, he pulled out a writing utensil and wrote above on the wall, "Here lies Darby Crash," and they found his body underneath it. Kind of a sad story. And sadly, even in death, he didn't really get the respect he deserved, because a day after he killed himself, John Lennon was shot and stole all the thunder. Here lies Darby Crash. Well, we found the man that we owe everything to. One of my favorite vlogs of all time, Max Sennett. The king, grandpa, and founder of comedy. The man who started Fatty Arbuckle, Mabel Normand, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, you name it, in comedy, he probably helped start it. Max Sennett, thank you very much. You and your Keystone Cops. Well, we tried to get into the mausoleum to see John Candy, Ray Bolger, and Fred McMurray, but it was already closed. It was 5:30 and closed at 5. But we came to see the very last stop on our tour, Miss Mary Astor. If you don't know much about Mary Astor, I did a vlog about her early on, her house called Moorcrest, now that what's his name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine owns, Andy Samberg owns. And throughout that I tell just the horrible story of how her parents just treated her like garbage and basically made her a prisoner in her own home until the age of 26, and just none of her marriages really seemed to work out, and God rest her soul, she's finally at peace. Well, this is one of the weirder things I've ever seen. First I thought they were just putting all their belongings on here, and now I look at it and I go, I think it might be an art piece, because it's not done with a strategy in mind. Not for transportation anyway. 2 briefcases? Interesting. Well, Well, gang, I hope you guys enjoyed our trip to Holy Cross today. That's one of those things that everybody always seems to want, is more cemeteries, and more celebrity graves. So there you go. I had to give it to you. I appreciate you guys watching every day. Please hit the thumbs up, the like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I had one of my Patreon people like bump up their monthly donation, so thank you very much, man. That was really nice of you. Have a great night, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I do know that I'm working Wednesday, and then Thursday I'm working a catering gig, and I don't know much about it, but it says sports team event. So I don't know, maybe it's a Clipper event, maybe it's a Dodgers event, I don't know what it is. It could be anything, so something to look forward to. So thank you guys for watching. Your old pal Jordan and your old pal Jaw will be here tomorrow with some fantastic adventure, and I hope you guys will be too. From Hollywood, California, good night.